Hello, welcome to IAT355, Introduction to Visual Analytics. And what we're going to do today is introduce the course and the people who are going to help you learn the material. And we'll talk a little bit about, first, about course delivery. So the way in which we're going to deliver 355 this term is a little bit different from previous terms. We are going to teach it mostly asynchronously. That is to say, we'll have a bunch of pre-recorded videos available on my YouTube channel underneath the, within my IAT355 playlist. And you can see the URL there for that playlist. I'll also, of course, have that playlist URL presented on Canvas. And if the amount of storage I have available on Canvas permits it, I will also upload those videos to Canvas for you to peruse. The plan is to have synchronous meetings once per week during class time on Tuesdays at 4:30. We may also need to have synchronous class time, say on the Thursday, but at the moment I'm imagining we will just need to do this on Tuesdays. We will also have the opportunity for you to meet with either myself or the TA and to do breakout groups and have discussions about course topics in with a reduced number of people per meeting during some of that class time. So there's going to be a division between the course material, the formal kind of lecture material, if you will, being delivered by video, and discussions happening live throughout the term. So my background is that I have a PhD in computing science from the University of Alberta, and I do research in visual analytics, virtual environments, health informatics, and 2D, 3D interfaces, two-handed 3D interfaces for 3D freeform surface design, as well as scientific and information visualization. In my teaching, I teach IAT355, video game design and programming occasionally, as well as visual analytics. The TA is Pegah Kiaei, and she'll introduce herself here, or rather I will introduce. There's a little problem with the audio for this thing. So her name's Pegah. She's a master's student in the Pain Studies Lab since January of 2019. She has a BSc in computer software engineering, and you may know her from a prior experience. She was the TA for IAT167 last fall. Her access points are email. She will get back to you within a day or less, as well as online office hours by appointment, typically within a few days. And there's her email there. She has a complex last name, so hence the thing is not quite, it doesn't say Pegah in her email. It's a little bit different from that. She suggests that when you send her an email, as is the case for me, when you send me an email, please put in square brackets IAT355 so that we know it's from you and a class member and we know how to attend to it. So what you will do throughout this course is design, build, use, and critique visualizations. There's a bunch of things that we're intending to get across throughout the term. One is to understand the visual language of visualizations and to help you understand how to create those visualizations, to communicate, to help discover new information, and to do interesting things with data. We also want you to become familiar with how visualization and visual analytics expand the data science toolbox of approaches to complex problems. So our primary focus throughout this course is about problem solving and presenting the solutions to those problems to, say, the customer or the consumer of information. We're typically assuming that you as a student are assuming a role in which you're developing visualizations for an organization that needs knowledge about a particular set of data that they have questions about. As part of that, we will train you a bit in determining questions and having you design and create visualizations and visual analytics approaches to do a defined problem, to find data. Data finding is actually a very important part of visual analytics, to write code, to develop visualizations, to design the right visualizations or visualizations that come close to being right, and to build appropriate interactions with those visualizations. Our evaluation is, there's a bunch of things that we will need you to do. There's going to be a requirement for you to do a visualization journal to write up a little bit about what you think of visualizations, and we'll pose questions throughout the term. A couple of analysis and design assignments where you'll analyze some data and do a simple visualization of that data, followed by some development of visualization systems or tools of more complex data, and then followed by a final project. In addition to all that making stuff, we will ask you to complete 2 or 3 quizzes throughout the term that will test you on the materials that we've covered in the preceding weeks before the quiz is offered. Each quiz will be cumulative going back to the beginning of the term, but typically when I build a quiz, I don't spend, say, the middle quiz talking about what we talked about in the first 2 weeks of term. The course project can be done either singly or in pairs, a pair of you working together on a project. You get to choose and you get to make whatever that project is. We are interested in having you address real-world problems that have real data and a real visualization. And what we would like you to do is to create an assessment and a report of that work that you have done throughout the project. For the final project, there will be 4 phases. The first is to determine a question and an audience for the data. That is to say, who cares about this data and why should we care? Next, you will find the data that is appropriate about your question. The third phase is to develop the visual analytics tools to get at the question, that is to say, to attempt to grapple with the data and answer the question or questions that you have in mind, and to tell, at the end, a data story. That is to say, you use a visualization tool to tell a story, to conduct a narrative about what you discovered about the data. It might be the case that you already knew something about that data, but I think it's very important for you to be able to tell a concise story about what you discovered in the data. And there are a couple of examples of that from our prior terms shown here in the slides. Finally, the Viz Journal, one of the things that we're going to ask you to do is to talk about visual representations of data, to think about them. We're interested in you interacting with data that interests you. So, for example, it might be soccer stats or hockey or COVID-19 if you're still following the data there. It could be personal data about the amount of TV you watch or the number of times you baked bread this summer. Anything. We don't care what it's about, but we do want you to write about it. And something that's interesting that allows you to gain some flexibility in sketching and creating simple visualizations that talk and address something that you care about that has some measurements associated with it, some data. Okay, so what we're going to do now at the end of this segment is we are going to take a little break. I'm going to switch from this canned video, and I need to ask you, each of you as students together, where are you located physically? It's very important because if it turns out that everybody is in Vancouver, I can do certain things synchronously that I cannot do if half of you are located in different time zones all over the world. So let's now talk about that.